My mother sent me a text on a Tuesday morning that said, "We need to discuss the outstanding balance." I had no idea what she was talking about, so I called her back, and she told me, completely calm, completely matter of fact, that my name was on a $38,000 contract with the Harrington Manor event venue for my sister's wedding, a wedding I had not attended, a wedding I had not been told the details of, a wedding where I had been specifically excluded from the guest list by the same people who had just used my name, my credit history, and my professional income records to convince a luxury venue that I would personally guarantee every single dollar. I work in financial compliance. I read contracts for a living. I find the clause that shifts the risk. I find the signature that wasn't where it should be. And sitting at my kitchen table that Tuesday morning, coffee going cold beside me, I realized with the kind of clarity that only comes from absolute betrayal that this time the signature that wasn't where it should be was mine. If you are new here, hit subscribe and drop your city in the comments right now. I genuinely love knowing who's out there with me on these long nights. And if you've ever been used by the people who were supposed to protect you, this one is for you. Stay with me, because what happened next, they never saw it coming. My name is Daniela Reeves. I'm 33 years old. I'm a senior contracts analyst at a financial consulting firm in Atlanta, Georgia. I live in a clean, organized apartment in the Midtown neighborhood with hardwood floors, a standing desk, and a coffee maker I treat better than most relationships I've had. I'm telling you this because I want you to understand who I am before I tell you what my family did. Because when people hear a story like this, they sometimes ask, well, were you always difficult? Were you always the problem? No. I was the quiet one, the one who handled things, the one who never made a scene, and for a very long time, that made me the perfect target. Growing up in the Reeves household in Charlotte, North Carolina, the air had a certain kind of weight to it. Not violent, not dramatic, just tilted, like a table with one short leg. Everything sat on it, but nothing ever sat quite straight. My sister Amber was 2 years younger than me and had the kind of magnetic, effortless warmth that made strangers feel like old friends within minutes. People loved Amber the way they love a fireplace. They moved toward her automatically, without deciding to. I was different. I was precise. I was observant. I asked too many questions in school, according to at least 3 different teachers. I read the fine print on permission slips. I noticed when the numbers didn't add up. My father, Robert, was a regional logistics supervisor who had built his entire identity around being the provider, the patriarch, the man with the final word. He wasn't cruel, he was just a man who had decided very early that providing financially meant he didn't have to provide emotionally, and that the two things were interchangeable. They are not interchangeable, but nobody told him that until it was too late. My mother, Patricia, was the kind of woman who kept the peace like it was a second job, a full-time, unpaid position she had held for 30 years without a single day off. She smoothed things over. She reframed situations. She had a gift for taking something that was clearly unfair and presenting it in a light that made you feel unreasonable for noticing. I left for college on a full academic scholarship. My parents came to the campus drop-off, helped carry boxes, and drove away. 3 weeks later, Amber's volleyball tournament was a 4-hour event that apparently required my mother to take an entire week off work and document every spike and serve on a separate Instagram story. I'm not telling you this to make you feel sorry for me. I'm telling you because it explains the architecture, the blueprint of a family where one child is the favorite and the other child is the functional one, the one who handles things quietly and doesn't ask for much and therefore doesn't get much. I built my own life from scratch. Graduated with honors, got my first analyst position at 23, moved to Atlanta at 26, promoted twice, built a savings account, a professional reputation, and a very specific skill set that my family would one day deeply, deeply regret overlooking. Amber, meanwhile, had moved to Nashville and gotten engaged to a man named Carter Webb, the son of a commercial real estate developer, who wore monogrammed shirts unironically and referred to his weekend home as the Lake House like it was a personality trait. I heard about the engagement the same way I heard about most things in my family, through my mother's Facebook post where I was tagged in a photo of Amber's ring with the caption, "So proud of my girls. God is good." I was one of the girls when the moment was photogenic. I stored that observation away. The formal wedding invitation arrived 6 weeks later. Thick cream envelope, wax seal, calligraphy, the Harrington Manor, Nashville, Tennessee, September 14th, cocktail attire, RSVP by August 1st. And tucked inside, a small handwritten card in Amber's looping cursive. "Danny, you're my big sister. You always have been and always will be. It wouldn't feel real without you standing there. Please come. A." I read that card 4 times. 7 years of surface-level holidays, 7 years of phone calls that were really just status reports, 7 years of being the girl who didn't need anything and therefore received nothing. And now this, a personal note that felt, against all available evidence, like it might mean something. I booked the flight, Atlanta to Nashville, round trip, $380. My best friend and coworker, Brianna O'Coffer, raised one perfectly shaped eyebrow when I told her. "You sure that's a good idea?" 3 words. I should have given them more weight. Now, before I go further, I need to pause here for just a second, because I know some of you are already feeling this story in your chest. You know what it's like to be the capable one, the one the family calls when something needs handling, and somehow the more capable you are, the more they take. If that's you, stay with me, because what's coming is for every single one of us who finally said enough. I arrived in Nashville on a Friday evening, checked into a mid-range hotel near the venue, and called Amber from my room. She picked up on the 5th ring. "Danny, you made it. Okay, so the rehearsal dinner is tonight, but it's just immediate family and the wedding party. You can come to the venue tomorrow at 4. Ceremony starts at 5. Her voice had that performance energy, bright and fast and slightly out of reach. "Amber, am I in the wedding party?" A half-second pause. No, we kept it small. Just come enjoy yourself. It'll be so good." I called my mother next. She answered immediately, and the first thing she said was, "Oh, you actually made the trip." Not, "I'm so happy you came," not, "I can't wait to see you." "Oh, you actually made the trip." Like my being there was mildly surprising, like I had shown up unexpectedly to something I had been formally invited to. I lay awake that night in the hotel room listening to the traffic in Nashville and trying to locate the source of the low hum of unease sitting in my chest. I couldn't find it, but it was there. September 14th. I dressed carefully. A deep teal wrap dress, simple gold jewelry, the outfit of someone who belongs in a room without needing to announce it. The Harrington Manor was stunning in the way that only very expensive things are, effortlessly, quietly, inevitably stunning. Candlelit chandeliers, garden ceremony space with white floral arches, a jazz trio playing in the lobby, 200 guests already flowing through the entrance. I walked to the check-in table and gave my name. The woman with the clipboard looked up at me with the specific expression of someone who was about to deliver bad news to someone who was clearly not expecting it. "I'm sorry, I don't have a Daniela Reeves on the guest list." "Can you check again? I have the invitation." She checked. She shook her head. And then I looked up, and my father was walking toward me from inside the venue. Dark suit, silver tie, an expression on his face that I will spend a very long time trying to fully process. It wasn't shock, it wasn't guilt. It was the settled, deliberate composure of a man who had made a decision well before this moment and was simply carrying it out. "Daniela." "Dad, I'm not on the guest list." "No." Just that. No. Flat and complete. "I have the invitation right here." "That was sent in error. I need you to go back to your hotel. This is a private event." "I am family. Don't make a scene." I looked past him into the venue. Through the glass, I could see Amber in her wedding gown, ivory, strapless, breathtaking, laughing with her bridesmaids. She glanced toward the entrance. Our eyes met for exactly 1 second, and then she looked away. She didn't come outside, didn't raise a hand, didn't do anything. She looked away the way you look away from something you've already decided you're not going to deal with. I turned around. I walked back across that parking lot with my head up and my spine straight and my face completely composed. I drove 3 blocks, I pulled over on a quiet side street, and I sat in the dark with the engine running, and I let myself cry for exactly 11 minutes. Not because of the wedding, because I had done it again. I had shown up hoping to find something that the evidence had never, not once, actually supported. I called Brianna at 9 o'clock. "You turned you away at the door?" Her voice was sharp and immediate. I told her everything: my father at the entrance, my mother nowhere visible, Amber in her wedding gown looking away through the glass. Brianna was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Danny, people don't station someone at the entrance just to be mean. They do it when there's something they need you not to see. Give it a few days. Don't fly home yet." "Brianna, something is coming. I can feel it. Wait." I didn't sleep that night. I sat at the hotel desk and I worked, reviewing a quarterly contract file I'd brought along, because work was the one place where the logic always held. 3 days later, I opened Instagram. Amber's feed had exploded with wedding photographs. The Harrington Manor lit up in candle glow, Carter and Amber under the floral arch, the 4-tier cake, the dancing, the toasts. 127 photographs. I wasn't in a single one. Then I found my mother's post, a collection of wedding highlights, and at the very end, a photograph of me and Amber as children, maybe 9 and 7, standing in the backyard in matching 4th of July outfits, grinning at the camera. The caption, "Blessed beyond measure by both my daughters. What a perfect weekend." Both my daughters. Posted for the relatives and coworkers and church friends who followed her. Posted to maintain the story that both daughters were present, that the family was whole, that the photograph from 24 years ago could stand in for the reality of this weekend. She needed that caption. She couldn't explain why one daughter wasn't in a single photo from a wedding she was supposedly invited to attend. So she reached back 2 decades into the archive and manufactured my presence. I closed the app. I ate a protein bar. I did not taste it. Tuesday morning, my phone rang. My mother. "Patricia. Daniela, I'm calling about the outstanding balance with the Harrington Manor, the final payment." "What final payment?" "The venue balance, $38,000. Your name is on the account as the financial guarantor." The room tilted. "Mom, I didn't sign anything." Then my father's voice, he had been there the whole time. He took the phone. "Stop playing games. You're listed as the guarantor on the venue contract. The balance is due within 30 days. "I did not sign a contract. I was turned away at the door 4 days ago by you." Click. He hung up. I sat completely still for 30 seconds. Then I picked up my phone and called the Harrington Manor. I was transferred to a woman named Claudette Warren in their events and finance department. "Miss Warren, I'm calling about the Webb-Reeves wedding. I understand there is a guarantor agreement with my name attached to it. I need you to understand something clearly. I did not sign that document. I was not present when it was created. I was not asked for permission. I was, in fact, denied entry to the event itself by the same people who apparently used my name." A pause. The kind of pause that means someone has stopped typing. She walked me through the dispute process. Written request, government-issued ID, document within 48 hours. I drafted the request letter in 14 minutes, attached my driver's license scan, sent it certified with read receipt. Then I called Brianna. "There's a contract," I said. "My name is on it. I never signed it." 3 seconds of silence. "Okay," she said. "Now we work." The family calls started Wednesday. My Aunt Deborah led the charge. Warm, rehearsed, scripted. "Honey, your mama says you made a commitment to help with the wedding, and now you're backing out on your own family." I made no such commitment. I recognized the architecture immediately. Patricia had already written the story and distributed the copies to everyone who loved her enough not to question it. Uncle Dennis sent a long text. Family is about more than money, Daniela. This is bigger than whatever disagreement you and Robert have. My cousin Kayla sent a voice note, breathy, self-righteous. You're the successful one. You have the money. Why would you make your parents go through this? It's embarrassing. I screenshotted every single message, every voicemail, every text. I saved them in a folder labeled Documentation Family Pressure Campaign. I have worked in financial compliance for 10 years. I know exactly what documentation means when you're being systematically misrepresented. Then a different message came through. My cousin Marcus, Patricia's nephew, 25, quiet, the kind of person who watches from the edges and misses absolutely nothing. Hey, something feels off. My mom keeps saying you broke a promise to Amber, but I've been thinking about the timeline and it doesn't add up. Can we talk? One person out of 11 who stopped to ask a question instead of deliver a sentence. Not yet, I typed back, but keep paying attention. Amber called Thursday afternoon. Her voice had no warmth in it, just the flat efficiency of someone calling to close a transaction. Danny, just handled the venue payment. It's not that complicated. I didn't sign anything, Amber. Dad handled the paperwork. That's the same as you signing it. We're family. Your father signed my name on a legal document without my knowledge or consent. That is not the same as me signing it. You don't know that. I've requested the contract. I'll know within 48 hours. Daniela, her voice shifted. Impatience layered over something else, something that sounded closer to guilt. You have always made everything so difficult. Just this once, do something for this family. I kept my voice completely level. Amber, did you know Dad put my name on that contract? 5 seconds of silence. 5 seconds is a very long time when you're counting. It doesn't matter, she said. It matters to me. Just write the check. I ended the call. My hands were steady because something had shifted. Quietly, irreversibly, somewhere deep. She knew. She had known the whole time. And she did not care. My father called Friday morning. His voice had that particular hardness of a man who has confused volume with authority. Guarantor contracts are legally enforceable in every state. You signed it. You owe this venue. Dad, if that signature doesn't match my verified signature, the contract is void. Silence. Nobody forged anything. Then you have nothing to worry about when the venue compares it to my license. You think your big city job makes you smarter than your own father? You think I don't know how these things work? I'm not trying to be smarter than anyone. I'm just telling you what will happen when the documents are compared. He hung up. Here is what I noticed. He never denied the forgery directly. He threatened, he deflected, he attacked my character. But the moment I said the word forged, there was a beat, one single beat of silence before anything else came out of him. That silence told me everything I needed to know. My mother called that evening, alone this time. Her voice was threaded with tears that arrived with suspicious speed. Daniela, please, your father hasn't slept. If the venue pursues legal action, we could lose the house. Mom, you could lose the house because someone forged my signature. Don't use that word. Her voice sharpened instantly. We used your information because we had no other choice. The venue required a guarantor. Our credit, after your father's business restructuring, we couldn't qualify. We had your information. Your tax records were still in the old files. You went through my personal records, my tax documents, and you used them without asking me? We are your parents, Daniela. We gave you everything. You gave me a childhood. You did not give me the right to my identity. Family asks, Mom. Family does not steal and call it obligation. A long, Hollow silence. I could hear her kitchen clock in the background. Then her voice came back, and the softness was completely gone. You have always been like this. Amber needed this wedding. Carter's family expected a certain standard. We did what we had to do. You forged my name on a legal document. There is no version of that which is acceptable. She hung up. By Saturday, the family pressure campaign was at full volume. And then Marcus sent me a screenshot. A family group chat, one I had never been added to, a thread going back 3 weeks. Patricia is refusing to honor her commitment to this family. I don't know what we did wrong with her. Robert, she makes 6 figures and won't support her own sister's wedding? It's shameful. Amber, she's always been jealous, even when we were little. She can never just be happy for me. Aunt Deborah, should we all speak to her together? Patricia, I'm organizing a family brunch at Deborah's on Sunday. If we all address her together, she'll see reason. A family brunch, an audience assembled, a stage built specifically to overwhelm me with numbers. Marcus followed up immediately. My mom is hosting Sunday. It's got intervention energy. Heads up. I stared at that message for a long time. Then I typed back, I'll be there. And I called Brianna. I said, they're building a public pressure event. Good. I could hear the smile in her voice from 200 miles away. Good. Let them build it. You bring the documents and let the room do the rest. Okay, I need to pause here because I want to say something to every woman listening to this right now. There is a specific kind of loneliness that comes from being the one who handles things, the capable one, the one who never falls apart in public. People confuse your composure for not caring. They confuse your silence for consent. They confuse your strength for an unlimited resource they're entitled to draw from. You are not a resource. You are a person, and what's about to happen in this story is for every single woman who has ever been treated like her only value was what she could provide. Keep watching. It's almost time. Saturday night, I almost left. I opened the Delta app. Sunday morning flight home to Atlanta. My finger hovered over confirm. Brianna called at 9:30. She didn't ask if I was okay. She just said, close the app. I'm just looking at options. You're running, and running is exactly what your father is counting on. Robert has been betting since Tuesday that you'll fly home quietly, absorb the bill, and let him tell everyone you eventually came around. He has been right about that your entire life. I didn't say anything. Donnie, the contract arrives tomorrow. One more day. Just wait. I closed the app. After she hung up, I lay in the dark and let my mind go somewhere I usually keep the door locked on. I was 11 years old. My school held a regional science fair. I had worked for 6 weeks on a project about water filtration, built the actual model myself, wrote the report, rehearsed the presentation. I won first place in my division. The school called my parents to tell them. My mother said she would come to the awards ceremony. She did not come. Amber had a dance recital the same afternoon, and my mother had simply decided, without telling me, without arranging a substitute. She just didn't show. I received my ribbon from a teacher who smiled at me with that particular pity smile that children recognize immediately. I took the city bus home alone. When I got home, I put the ribbon on the kitchen table. The next morning, it was in my closet. Amber's recital photograph was on the refrigerator. Nobody mentioned the ribbon again. Lying in that Nashville hotel room 22 years later, I understood something with absolute clarity. I had not flown to Nashville for a wedding. I had flown 700 miles to find out, one more time, if there was room for me. And the cruelest part, the part that sat the heaviest, was not that they turned me away at the door. The cruelest part was that I still got on the plane. At 6:45 in the morning, I woke with a single new notification, an email from Harrington Manor Legal and Finance. Subject, Document Request, Webb Reeves Event. I sat up. I opened it. I read the first paragraph. And then I understood what I was dealing with. Before I could finish reading, my father called. 6:58 a.m. The guarantor agreement is fully enforceable, he said before I even said hello. The venue expects payment within 30 days. I'd recommend you stop playing games. Interesting timing, Dad. I just received the contract this morning. A pause. 4 full seconds. The sound of a calculation going wrong in real time. I'm looking at it right now, I said. And I was. I poured coffee before I opened the attachment. I needed to be completely steady. Page 1, event details, Webb Reeves' wedding, the grand estate package. Total $38,000. Standard. Page 3, guarantor agreement. I, Daniela Reeves, hereby guarantee full and complete payment of any outstanding balance in the event that the primary contracting parties are unable to fulfill their financial obligations to Harrington Manor event venue. And at the bottom, a signature, Daniela Reeves. I stared at it for a long time. Whoever had signed it had tried. The D had my slight rightward tilt, the R had my double loop, but the pen pressure was wrong. Too heavy, too deliberate, the pressure of someone copying rather than writing naturally. The A at the end of Daniela closed differently than mine. The S at the end of Reeves didn't have my small upward flick. It was a practiced copy. Someone had found a sample, a check, an old form, possibly a tax document from those old files my mother mentioned, and had gotten close enough to fool a venue coordinator with no reason to question it. Close enough to fool a stranger, not close enough to fool me. I set my laptop beside my driver's license, open to the signature line. I looked at both. Then I said it out loud in the empty hotel room. That is not my signature, and I can prove it. I called Brianna immediately. How bad, she said. My name, someone else's hand. It is not a close match, Brianna, not when you actually know what you're looking at. She exhaled slowly. A forged guarantor agreement is void from the moment it was signed. You have zero liability. Zero. They didn't just lie about me. They became me. They picked up a pen and wrote my name like it was theirs to write. Brianna arrived at the hotel within 90 minutes. We drafted a formal written dispute to the venue's legal department together. I did not sign the guarantor agreement dated August 3rd. The signature does not belong to me. I'm requesting the document be preserved for forensic handwriting analysis. I am attaching my government-issued ID for signature comparison. I further note that I had no knowledge of this document's existence and was physically denied entry to the event in question on the date of the wedding. Brianna tightened 2 sentences, added a line about my lack of any prior communication regarding the agreement, and I sent it certified with read receipt at 1:45 in the afternoon. Then I thought about Sunday. 11 family members. A table full of people who had already received their verdict from Patricia. A room built specifically to overwhelm me into compliance. Let them build the stage, Brianna had said. They were building my stage. Thursday morning, the Harrington Manor Legal Department replied. Dear Miss Reeves, we have received your formal dispute. Upon preliminary review, we are initiating a signature verification process. All collection activity directed at you is hereby suspended pending the outcome of this investigation. Brianna called within minutes. Suspended, that means they already see a discrepancy. And then, 40 minutes later, a second email. This one from a woman named Teresa Hollis, the venue's event coordinator, writing from her personal work address. Miss Reeves, I processed the original guarantor document personally. The form was submitted in person by a woman, approximately mid-50s, who identified herself as the mother of the bride. She signed the document at the front desk. I noted it as slightly unusual because she specifically requested that no copy be sent directly to the guarantor. I kept that note in the event file. A woman in her mid-50s who asked that no copy be sent directly to me. My mother. My mother, Patricia Reeves, walked into that venue, stood at the front desk, picked up a pen, and wrote my name as though it belonged to her. I printed both emails, added them to the folder.
contract copy, investigation letter, license signature page, Teresa's statement. 4 documents. Organized, irrefutable. Sunday was 2 days away. Sunday morning, white silk blouse, charcoal wide-leg trousers, structured blazer, the outfit of someone who came to present facts, not feelings. My Aunt Deborah's house was a large colonial in a quiet Nashville suburb, with rocking chairs on the front porch and a wreath that said "Family First" in wooden letters. I sat in the rental car for 60 full seconds. 11 people inside. Most of them fed a version of events where I was the problem. The cold, successful daughter who made a promise and broke it. The one who chose money over blood. None of them had asked to see a document. None of them needed to. They had Patricia's version, and Patricia's version came with tears, and tears are a currency that spends very well in family rooms. I reached for the folder on the passenger seat. 4 pages. One truth. I got out of the car and walked up to the front door. Inside, brunch casserole, fresh coffee, low, tense voices that dropped another register when I stepped through the door. 11 faces turned toward me. Robert's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. Patricia offered a smile that stopped 2 inches below her eyes. Amber looked at the tablecloth. Carter sat beside her, with his arms crossed, brow furrowed, very still. No chair pulled out for me. Marcus stood up from the far end of the table and got one from the kitchen without being asked. He placed it quietly at the corner and gave me a look that said, "I see you." Robert stood at the head of the table. His voice carried the practiced authority of a man who has run enough family meetings to know how to own a room. "I want to thank everyone for being here. Daniela made a commitment to this family when she agreed to be the financial guarantor for Amber's wedding. She signed a legally binding contract. Now she's threatening to undo that commitment and expose this family to financial and legal consequences. We brought her here today because we believe family resolves things together." Patricia pressed her fingers to her lips. "We tried to handle this privately, we truly did, but Daniela has left us with no choice." Amber's voice, small and carefully composed. "I just wanted my sister there. I wrote her a personal note, and now everything has turned into a legal battle." The chorus joined in, wave after wave. "Aunt Deborah, your parents could lose everything, sweetheart." Uncle Dennis, "The Daniela I raised alongside couldn't do this to her family." Cousin Kayla, "You're the successful one. This is embarrassing for all of us." Stone after stone, verdict after verdict. And then Carter leaned toward Amber, low but not low enough. "What contract?" Amber put her hand on his arm. "I'll explain later." "Amber," he didn't move his arm. "You told me your parents handled the venue deposit. What contract is she talking about?" "Amber." "What contract?" She didn't answer. Robert, emboldened by the audience, spread his hands wide. She can't even respond. She knows what she signed.
I looked at my father. I held his gaze for exactly 3 seconds. Then I stood up. The chair scraped across the hardwood floor. The room went completely silent. "I've been listening," I said. "Now it's my turn." I placed the contract in the center of the table. Official Harrington Manor letterhead, guarantor's signature page facing up. This is the contract everyone's been discussing. My name is on the guarantor line. I set my driver's license beside it, open to the signature panel. This is my real signature. I'd like everyone to look at both. Aunt Deborah reached for the contract first. She held it next to the license. Uncle Dennis leaned in from the other side. Kayla set down her phone for the first time all morning. The silence that followed was the silence of a room doing math it didn't expect to be doing. The signatures did not match, not when you actually looked, not when you placed them side by side with no reason to assume they were the same. "The Harrington Manor is already conducting a formal investigation," I said. I placed the venue's investigation letter on the table. "All collection activity against me has been suspended pending the outcome." That letter arrived Thursday morning.
Robert's face had gone completely still. You authorized this electronically. You gave permission by proxy. The venue's own event coordinator confirmed the document was submitted and signed in person. I placed Teresa's statement on the table. By a woman in her mid-50s who specifically requested that no copy be sent to the guarantor directly. The room processed that sentence. I watched it move across Aunt Deborah's face like weather. I watched it reach Uncle Dennis. I watched Carter look from the documents to Amber with an expression that was quiet and absolute and final. "Deborah," Robert's voice, "this is being taken completely out of context." "Deborah," Aunt Deborah's voice was not angry. It was something worse than angry. It was certain. "Is this true?" We were in a difficult position. The venue required a guarantor. Our finances, after the restructuring, we didn't have another option. Daniela has the means. She handles things quietly. We thought, "You forged her name." Silence. On a legal document, Aunt Deborah set the contract down carefully, like she was setting down something that had just revealed itself to be something else entirely. "That's a crime, Robert." Uncle Dennis stood up slowly. "On your own daughter?" Carter pushed his chair back. "Carter." "Not a question. You knew." "It was complicated, Carter." "It's not complicated. It is a forged document. You let me plan our entire honeymoon believing your parents covered the venue. 6 months. And your sister was standing outside that building with an invitation in her hand while your father physically blocked the entrance because he knew that the moment she walked inside, she would find out. Carter, please." "What else?" His voice was steady and devastating. "What else don't I know?" The room had fractured. Robert and Patricia pinned and visible. Carter pulling his hand back from Amber's reach. Aunt Deborah's face, a landscape of grief and fury, and something that looked like grief for a version of people she thought she knew. I raised one hand. The room went quiet. I am not pressing charges. I looked around the table slowly. Every face. That is not why I'm here, but I need every person in this room to understand 3 things. I held up one finger. I never signed that contract. I have 0 legal or moral obligation to pay $1 of $38,000. Second finger. I flew 700 miles to my sister's wedding with a formal invitation in my hand and a personal handwritten note from the bride, and I was turned away at the entrance by the same man who had forged my name on a contract because he knew that the moment I walked inside, I would find out. Third finger. I do not hate anyone in this room, but I will not carry a debt that was never mine, and I will not apologize for knowing the difference between my signature and someone else's. Patricia's voice, thin and reaching. "Daniela, please." "Mom," I lowered my hand. "I am done being the name this family uses when it runs out of options." Robert was staring at the documents on the table, not at me, at the paper, at his own work, sitting there in plain sight. I gathered the papers, slowly, deliberately, returned them to the folder, closed it. Being family is not a signature you get to borrow, and someone's silence is not the same as their consent. I tucked the folder under my arm. I walked out of that dining room, past the brunch casserole and the fresh coffee, and 11 people in various stages of rearranging what they thought they knew. Marcus caught my eye as I passed. He gave a small, quiet nod. I walked through the front door, down the porch steps, past the family first wreath, and into the cool September morning. Nobody followed me, but this time the silence felt different.
It felt like a room that had just finished deciding something true. I was at the rental car when I heard Carter's voice through the open window. "We're having a real conversation tonight, Amber. All of it. Everything." Her voice, reaching, desperate. "Carter, I love you." "I know. I love you too. And that's exactly why I need the truth." I got in the car, set the folder on the passenger seat, pulled away without looking in the rearview mirror. The Tennessee highway was wide and gold in the early morning light. I drove with the radio off because some silences you have to earn, and I had been earning this one for 33 years. Monday morning, checking out of the hotel. The email arrived while I was loading my bag into the trunk. Dear Ms. Reeves, following our investigation, including forensic handwriting comparison and written witness account from venue staff, we have determined that the signature on the guarantor agreement does not match the verified signature of Daniela Reeves. The guarantor agreement is hereby voided in its entirety. All financial liability reverts to the primary contracting parties, Robert and Patricia Reeves. A revised invoice will be issued accordingly. Voided in its entirety. I called Brianna from the parking lot. It's done, I said. Tell me. Voided. All liability reverted to my parents. She let out a long, slow breath. You owe nothing. I owe nothing. A second email arrived 20 minutes later, the revised invoice sent to Robert and Patricia Reeves, carbon copied to me. Please remit payment of $38,000 within 60 days. Failure to comply will result in referral to collections and potential legal action. 60 days. $38,000 for a wedding performance they had to steal my name to afford. I drove to the airport. The flight home to Atlanta was 2 hours. I slept for all of it, the deepest, most complete sleep I had managed in 3 weeks. The weeks that followed unfolded slowly and permanently. Robert and Patricia liquidated a savings account, took a personal loan from Uncle Dennis. Amber surrendered the honeymoon deposits, a combined $9,000, and applied it toward the balance. Together, they covered $26,000 of the $38,000. The remainder was negotiated into a monthly payment plan with the venue. Their retirement timeline shifted back by years. Patricia took a part-time administrative job. I heard all of this from Marcus, who had become the one honest line of communication I trusted. Carter and Amber stayed together, but everything changed. He required complete financial transparency going forward. Every account, every statement, nothing withheld. They were in couples therapy. From what Marcus told me, they were doing the real work, the slow, unglamorous, necessary kind. Apologies arrived in pieces. Aunt Deborah texted first, genuine and direct. I am ashamed I came in with a verdict before I understood the facts. I'm sorry, Danny. Uncle Dennis sent a short email. You handled yourself with more grace than anyone in that room deserved. Marcus called and we talked for 2 hours. Some of it serious, most of it nothing important, all of it real. Nothing from Robert, nothing from Patricia, nothing from Amber. The 3 people who owed me the words were the 3 still searching for them. In November, a letter arrived at my Atlanta apartment. No return address, but I knew the handwriting. Amber's, written more slowly than usual, like she had been thinking between every word. Danny, I've been trying to write this for 6 weeks. I don't know how to make it right, but I'm starting to understand that I let it happen, and I want you to know I understand the difference between something happening to you and me choosing to let it happen. I'm working on figuring out who I am when I'm not performing for someone's approval. It's harder than I expected. A. I set the letter on my kitchen table. I read it 3 times. I didn't write back yet, not because I was angry. I wasn't, not anymore. But because I wasn't ready. And for the first time in my life, I let not ready be a complete answer. Not a failure, not a coldness, just the truth of where I was. It's winter now. Atlanta doesn't get much snow, but the air coming through my apartment windows has that clean, sharp edge that makes everything feel a little more honest. I think about that entrance sometimes, the Harrington Manor's arched doorway, the candlelit chandeliers, my name on a clipboard that didn't include me, my father's face, that settled, deliberate composure in front of a door he'd made sure I couldn't open. He thought he was protecting the performance. He didn't realize he was ending it. You cannot build something real on a forged signature. You cannot construct a family on the labor of the one person you have conditioned to ask for nothing. Eventually, the capable one reaches into the drawer where she has always kept her contracts, and she reads the one with her name on it. I have been saying yes to things lately that I used to quietly decline. A colleague's birthday dinner, a weekend in the Smokies with Brianna, long phone calls with Marcus that end with both of us laughing about something inconsequential that somehow takes a full hour. For a long time, I confused self-sufficiency with isolation. I built a life that was clean and organized and entirely mine. And somewhere along the way, mine started to mean alone. Those are not the same word. I'm learning the difference. In December, Amber called. We talked for 20 minutes. No contracts, no deposits, no forgeries discussed. Just two sisters checking in, carefully, the way you test ice before you trust it with your full weight. "How's work?" she asked. "Busy?" "Good." A pause. "Counseling is helping. Carter and it's helping." "I'm glad." Another pause. "Danny?" "Yeah?" "I'm glad you didn't just pay it." That sentence stayed with me longer than I expected. Not quite an apology, but an acknowledgement that something real had been at stake, that I had held on to it, that holding on to it had mattered. No dramatic reconciliation, no tearful forgiveness scene with a bow on it. Just a door left open, not because anyone had fully earned it yet, but because keeping it closed was costing me more than I wanted to spend. My driver's license is on the shelf above my desk. Signature panel, dark blue ink, firm and certain and entirely mine. I have been a contracts analyst for 10 years. I find the clause that shifts the risk. I find the signature that wasn't where it should be. I find the sentence that doesn't belong. It turns out the most important contract I ever audited had my own name on it. And the most important thing I ever did was look at it and say, that's not mine. Here is what I know now that I wish I had understood earlier. The people who treat your silence as consent are counting on you to keep being silent. The people who treat your capability as an unlimited resource are counting on you to keep being capable without complaint. The people who write your name on their problems are counting on you to sign off on the revision. You don't have to. Capable is not the same as obligated. Quiet is not the same as agreeable. And love, real love, does not require you to co-sign a lie. My name is Daniela Reeves. I'm 33 years old, I live in Atlanta, and I audit contracts, and I catch what doesn't belong. I am learning to let the people who actually choose me, really choose me, at cost to themselves, stay. And nobody signs my name but me. That's not a threat. It's just the truth. And the truth, I have learned, is the one thing that never needs a forged signature to hold up in a room. So here's what I want to ask you, because I read every single comment. If your own family used your name on a debt you never agreed to, what would you have done? Would you have quietly paid it to keep the peace? Or would you have done what Daniela did? And if you could say one honest thing to the person who treated your capability like a resource they owned, not to argue, not to fix anything, just to finally say the truth out loud, what would it be? Drop it in the comments. I genuinely want to know. If this story made you feel seen, if it helped you name something you've been carrying, please hit like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear it tonight. Because you are not a resource, you are not a blank check, and your name belongs only to you. See you in the next one.